Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial I'll be teaching you how to make the Celestial Church of Christ female white garment. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You'll be learning a lot, so please pay attention and watch to the end. The first thing I'm sewing is the dart. So that's the dart. I'm picking all the 4 darts. To watch the cutting, I'll post the tutorial in the description box. But this is the sewing part. So I just finished sewing the dart. Make sure this part it doesn't have like a hole or something. Make sure it's neat, just like what I'm showing you. So I made sure I ironed it before sewing. You can see the lines. So the first line I showed you, that's the middle line. All the sides are the shoulder line. This is the back of the material of the main bodice, and this is the facing. So both backs will be facing up. So make sure the line are corresponding. Both lines are corresponding. You can see that I'm placing the lines on each other. So it has to be perfect. It has to stay in place. You don't want it shifting or anything. So that's why I'm putting the pins. What I did next was sew the cloth together. So that's what I'm doing next. I joined it together by 1/2 inch. So make sure you notch it out so that you get a perfect circle. Once I was done with the notching, I had to flip the neck out. So now, after you have flipped it out, both the face of the material will be facing you. That's the face of the main bodice and the face of the facing. So what I did next was pin it down so that it doesn't shift. So I'll hold 1/2 inch in, like what I'm doing right now. I'm folding it in. So once you are folding it, make sure you are setting it. You can see that I'm setting it as I'm folding it, so that it doesn't squeeze or shift. Then this part, make sure the down part is not coming out. Make sure the down part, because this neck is very tricky. So I also have a tutorial on how to sew this neck, how to sew it perfectly without any complaint. So you can check out the tutorial too. But just make sure the lines, you can see it, they are corresponding. So that's how you get it perfectly. So what I'm doing, let me explain what I'm doing. What I did was make sure the upper part is like excess. So that's the way it's going to balance. You know, we cut it it's like a fillet. That's how we cut it. So it has to be excess for it to balance with the main bodice. So the facing, you make it excess, like what I'm doing right now. Just watch the tutorial on how to sew a perfect neck. You understand it better. In case you sew it like this and you still don't understand, watch that tutorial. So that one is based on just the neck. So you can see we have our perfect finishing. So this is what it will look like after sewing. This is the sleeve. This is the back of the sleeve. So I'm checking out the back so that I can recognize it, because the materials look the same. Okay, so this sleeve, I first struck out 2 inches. That's where my pleating will be starting from. So I took tiny pleats from that 2 inches. I'll measure the difference between the 2 pleats, and the difference is 1.5 inches. So I'll just follow the 1.5 inches process. So just follow it to the end. So all the pleats I picked was 5 pleats in total. So that's what I normally pick whenever I'm sewing white garments. I just pick 5 pleats and then it's fine. I'm good to go. So I'm measuring it now. The person's round sleeve is 9.5 inches. So this is giving me 11.5 inches. That's plus 2 sewing allowance. So when I fold it, it will be 1 for the sewing allowance, 1. So I did the same to this other sleeve. I also measured it and gave me the same 11.5 inches. So I'm chalking the back of the band sleeve so that I can recognize the back and the front. Both fronts will be facing each other like this. So I placed it on the main sleeve. This part you need to pay attention. So I'm placing the face of the band on the back like that. This is the band, the back of the sleeve. Like I folded it like this. The reason I did this was because I don't want to top stitch on it. I don't want to stitch on it, so I want it to be like perfect sleeve without any sewing showing on it. So you just have to be careful with this part. What I did was I started picking the pleats so that it doesn't fold, because if you don't pick it, at the end of the day it will fold in. You realize that you have sewed the parts that you're not supposed to sew inside. So you have to be picking it one by one then. So I'll show a better view now in a few minutes so that you understand the sleeve very well. This is a better view, but in case you already understand, you can forward this part. So this is the back of the band sleeve and this is the front. So I'm kissing both fronts together just like I explained earlier. Both fronts are facing each other. So what I did was flip the band sleeve to the back. That's the other part. I held it and flipped it to the back of the main sleeve. So this is what you have after that. Just like I explained before, you have to be picking the pleats one by one for you to get this part perfectly. So when you are done with it, this is what you have. This is what you have. Then you bring it out. So I brought it out like this. And that's it. You can see it. There is no top stitching on it. The sewing is inside. This part is the shoulder part, so I have to notch it so that I can place the sleeve on it. So both notched parts has to kiss each other. It has to be on each other. So I'm joining the sleeve to the main body. Now what I normally do is I pick it from the middle. You can see that part because at times it is longer than each other, so I have to like take it from the middle to the beginning of the joining. Then I can now join it together. So this joining part, you realize that the notch part is on each other, so that means it's okay, I'm good to go. So in case it's not on each other, I have to release it then. So it again, we just have to do a perfect job. I just love perfection. That's me for you. So the next thing is notch the other sleeve too. That's the shoulder. Then place it on each other like I just did to the first part.
So after joining it, this waist part, I'm going to join it to the down of the white garment. I'm going to join to the down part. So now I'm going to sew the down part. That's my pleats. I want to pick the pleats now for the waist. That's the waist part. So I just wanted to see it very well. You can see the waist. I notched it on the middle. This is the middle part. Then this is the side that has the tip of the fabric. So this tip of the fabric, I would measure from that waist to this part that I'm pointing at 3 inches. I'll measure 3 inches. Then I'll start my sewing from that 3 inches down. So that will be the zip allowance. That's the zip part where the zip will be. So I measure 3 inches there. So this is the 3 inches that I'm measuring now. I just want to explain this part. Then I'll measure 1 inch for the sewing allowance. So I just sew this part down, straight down. This is the pleated part. That's the waist. So I'll be picking my pleats from the tip. That's where the pocket will be, to where that notched part is. That's the middle. So this is the sewing allowance, which is 1 inch. Why I'll be starting my pleats from that 2 inches that I just measured now. So this part too, you have to be very attentive. So I'm just picking my pleats randomly. The person's waist is 36 inches. So I'm measuring the difference between the pleats. I'm measuring 3 inches as the difference. I'm picking 1 inch as the pleat. That's the wideness of the pleat. That's what I want to measure now. So I made the wideness 1 inch. Then I made the difference 3 inches. So before I sew the pleated part, the first thing I do is use my pins to hold it down, because I don't want to be losing and sewing at the same time. So that 36 inches divided by 4 is going to give me 9 inches. So I'll be starting the measurement from that sewing allowance. Here I have 9.5 inches. So that means I have to reduce. So what I did was reduce the pleats that I just pinned down. So I just reduced it and adjust them so that I can get the 9 inches that I want. One thing about this part is that once you get this first 1/4, others will be very easy. So now I have the 9 inches after adjusting it. So I'm looking at the difference. Here I have like 2 3/4, while the second one is 2.5. You can see that there is a little bit of difference there. So I had to adjust it again so that I can get the perfect measurement that I want. So yeah, it seems to be on that 0.1, 2.5, 0.1. So just take your time doing this part. Once you get this part, others will be okay. So that's how I do my pleats. So now it's the same. The next thing I'll do now is to pick the other pleats. So I still have my 9 inches. So now I'm working on 2 3/4. That's 2.75. You can see that others are easy. I'm just putting a difference of 2.75 and I'm picking the next pleat. So that's just it. So I want to measure it all round to see if it's correct. You can see that it's exactly on that 18 inches. Then this is the 1 inch for the zip allowance, exactly what we want. So I'll be using this part to get the back too. That's the second pleat. This is the front part, so I'll be using to get the back part. So you have to measure the pleat so that you get it perfectly. So I've already pinned the second part too. Then after joining everything together, I placed it on each other like this, so that I'll see if it's balanced, if it rhymes with each other. So now I'll be joining the upper part to this pleated part. So this is the face of the material. Both the face of these bodies will be facing the face of the pleated parts. You can see this face and this face has to face each other. So that's the next thing I did. So I placed it on each other. So what I did next was to sew it down. After sewing it, this is what I have. So I've done the same to the other side too. I joined the other pleats together. This is what I have after sewing it. So I've joined the other parts too. What I'm going to do next is to join the sides. So the side I'll be joining first is the pocket side. That's the side that does not have that 3 inches allowance. So I'll stop at this part, then leave the pocket space and continue. I'll do that now. That's the sewing allowance that I want to do now. So this is the sleeve part. Around sleeve is 9.5 inches. So divided by 2 is going to give me 4 3/4. That's 4.75, which I measured. So I placed my machine. So I'll measure the same 4.75 here, and then sew it. So this part, this is the arm. This is a arm, that's the round arm. So you have to measure that part too, so that you get perfect measurements. What I measured there was 17 inches. So I divided it by 2, which gave me 8.5 inches. So this is the bust part. So I'm picking it from the middle that I ironed earlier. So our bust is 41 divided by 4. So the bust part will be divided by 4, just like when I cut it. That was how I measured it too. So our armhole, I made it 10.5 for the armhole. This armhole measurement is the bust divided by 4. So it's supposed to be 10 1/4, that's 10.25. But I added 0.25. Sutana must not be fitted, it has to be a little bit free. So this is our quarter length. That's the under bust. So I measured that too. Our under bust is 34 divided by 4, while the waist is 36 divided by 4, which gave me that 9 inches. So I just picked it, then sewed it down. So this is the pocket part. This pocket part, I'm making the opening of the pocket 7 inches. So I'll chalk the 7 inches. So I just sewed it down. Then I did the same thing to the other side. I measured 4.75, just like I did to the first sleeve. So the armhole too, I measured the 10.5 inches. This part, I started the sewing from the other side of the fabric. That's the other side of the bust part. Then I placed it round. So that is divided by 2 now. You can see I placed it exactly on the tip of the breast point. So that's where I placed my taper. So now I'm measuring the quarter length. So that bust part divided by 2 now gave me 20.5. While the waist under bust, sorry, now gave me 34 inches. So that is 17 inches divided by 2 gave me 17 inches. So this part is the zip part. The zip measurement is 7.5. That's for the length of the short zip that I'm using. So I just pick that 7.5 upward. So that is where the 7.5 stopped. So that is where my sewing will stop. So whatever I'm sewing has to stop there, so that there will be enough space allowance for the zip. This is the pocket. So I just sewed 1/2 inch upward, then the sides too 1 inch. The cutting of all this is going to be in the description box, so just go check it out. I'll paste the link there. So this is the wideness that I measured on the main cloth, 7 inches. That's going to be where the pocket, where we are going to dip our hand, the pocket side. So I measured 1 inch as the allowance by the side. So I'm just doing all this explanation so that you understand clearly. I just want you to have like a perfect understanding. So this is the pocket. What I did was bring it out to the face, then tucked it inside the main cloth. So both face now are facing each other. So both face has to be on each other. So I have to flip that sewing part away. And here this part, you can see I chalked the first part. That's where the sewing is. Then this second part I chalked. That's where I'm going to be sewing the pocket in. The difference is 2.5. That's quarter. That's a 1/4 inch. So that's where the sewing of the zip is going to start from. The reason I did that was because I don't want the pocket tucking out. Like I don't want it to be obvious that there is pocket there, so it will be very neat. So that's why I'm not starting the pocket from exactly the point. You can see what I'm doing. So the second point that I just placed, this one that I'm touching now, that's where the sewing is going to end. So that's where I sewed it in. Any part that you don't understand, if you want me to explain again, just let me know in the comment section so that I'll explain better. So this part, you can see. So I'm going to chalk another one. This chalking that I'm chalking inside is going to be where I'll be sewing now. So I'll be ending it here. So just make sure that part 2 is neat. You don't want anything tucking in and then mistakenly sewing on it. So I'm just removing all the sewings away so that there will be space. It won't be holding anything in. So I'm done with that part. So our pocket is almost ready. I brought it out so that I'll be able to flip it. So this part, I'm flipping it to this side. You can see the part that I flip it to. You don't want to flip it on to the other side so that the pocket will not go to the back of the clothes. So this place, I want to set it very well. That's why I show the outside part. You can see that the pocket is inside, it's not showing. So that's why I did that 1/4 thing. So I want to set it very well. That's why I'm doing this. So you can see that this part is very neat. Like the pocket is inside, it's not tucking out. So make sure the part that you are putting the pocket is like, you can see it. I don't know how to explain that part, but make sure it's like on the right side. That's, you flip it to the right side, not the back. So I'm going to sew it down like this. There are 2 methods of sewing this sutana, this white garment, female white garment. Maybe with time I would do the second method too. So this is what it's going to look like after sewing it down. This is the zip part, so I'll flip it to the front. I just flipped it to the front. So this part looks like it's squeezed. It's not straight the way I want it. So I'm going to notch it a little bit. Just a little bit. So that's why I'm doing like 3 notch. So that I don't over notch it. And at the end of the day, maybe if the person is now fat, she won't be able to lose it out. So you just have to notch it a little bit, which I did. So now it's giving me the straight look that I want. So I'll be placing my zip on it now. I placed it in a way that the fabric was covering the zip. I don't want the zip to be obvious. So this is what I have after sewing it. Then this is the front part. So the band part, I added 4 inches when I was cutting. So that's the 4 inches that I'm holding in. So I hold ½ inch in, then made the remaining one 3.5. Make sure to weave and do the ironing. We have come to the end of the video. This is the finished look after ironing. Please don't forget to subscribe if you are yet to subscribe, like my videos and share to people. I'll be posting more and more tutorials on white garments, so watch out for my next video.